Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for attending our webinar today, our comprehensive webinar, Master Business Resilience about business agility. We are honored to have today on board our prestigious speakers, Dr. Monica Rose, the expert and corporate trainer, business analytic, Lean Six Sigma operation management from Amity University. And also we have Dr. Harshita, the expert and corporate trainer, industrial development analytics from Amity University. Today, Dr. Monica.
Thank you so much, Ms. Doha. It was really exuberating invitation, and we are all very happy and excited to be in this webinar. So a very warm welcome, everyone. Let's understand business agility in spite of how an organization can drive the growth and success and build that agile culture. And to start with our discussion today, I want to bring in this interesting case of a company. Now here, the agenda for our session would be that we'll be touching upon what is the requirement for business agility, the very concept of business agility, and we will touch upon various frameworks that we can utilize in our organization so that enables business agility. Of course, we need to understand how this business agility can be driven in our respective processes and organization. We'll also discuss capability enhancement. And of course, we cannot leave the team behind because organizations are all made up of team. So how team agility can be a huge contributor to business agility, we are going to learn that. Of course, we'll understand what is the relevance and significance of growth mindset and how important it is for the business agility. And we'll touch upon the few implementation aspects of business agility so that we can inculcate these new learnings in our respective organizational processes. Now, the case that we were talking about. Now, this organization is ZMAC, a company which is into transportation logistics. So basically, they were the brokerages in transportation. They provided over-dimensional freight and logistics, and they were leaders in this. And what they did here, that they used to match the businesses who were looking to ship their goods and the transporters who wanted to deliver their products. Okay, so in order to make sure that they are serving their customer best, they were looking at various ways how they can enhance their processes, and their only motto was how they can serve their customers well. Now we all understand that in business scenario, in business environment, there is only one thing that is constant, and you know what is that? Change. Change is the only thing that is constant. And if we look at the environment around our businesses and our organization, we see at a humongous rate, the business is changing, the requirements are changing. However, if we look at organizations and rate of growth and change in the organization, there is a huge gap. And ZMAC was mindful of this gap. And in order to bring down that kind of gap overcoming, what they wanted to initiate was their ordering process. They wanted to streamline their ordering process in such a way that they are able to have their customer generate shipping rates, and they could easily see and choose their preferred shipping purveyor. ZMAC understood that all their customers are modern customers. They all have gadgets and they have devices, and using that, they are going to access. And henceforth, they thought, why not have an app? And using that app, they will have their customer come to their services for functional, fast, and being readily accessible. Also, it will give ZMAC more number of client codes. Now, here, the app that they wanted to have basically followed a traditional development method. And what do we mean by that? That though they wanted to have this technological app so that their services are expedited, they are, wasting no time responding to the customer service request. But because this app followed a traditional development method, that means the requirements were taken first, then the design was done, then the testing was done, and finally, when everything was done, the app was functional. And because of that, it took a lot of time. And eventually, when ZMAC implemented this app, it was not successful. In fact, it did not live up to the expectations. Now think about it. The various kind of issues that were there in the app, it was slow, and it took long time if there were any errors or bugs to be fixed. Why? Because it followed the traditional method approach. So requirements, and then designing, and then testing, and then only final implementation. Also, there were features like cybersecurity or marketing which were lacking. Now think, why Zamac wanted to have this app? Because they wanted to be very responsive to the customer. However, what happened here? So if assume you were the Max CEO and you were struggling with this kind of scenario, what kind of solution would you have brought in this company? I know all of you, you might be thinking either maybe you can bring a better technology, or maybe I would have people who are better suited to expertise, who can handle this kind of technological advancement. So in here, all of you are correct, because technology in itself is not going to bring any change in the organization, right? It is people who are going to use this technology, and then people had to be made open to new kind of developments in the organization, open to the technology, open to the change that this technology brings. Hence, the leadership plays a very, very important role here, taking along people and making them understand and adapt this technology and build that culture of innovation, right? So when everything in sync happens in any organization, when everything is in cognizance with that unison objective that they want to be better and efficient in their services, then, my dear friends, we have agility. So let's understand agility further by Dr. Harshita. Over to you, Dr. Harshita.
So thank you, Dr. Monica, for putting this entire discussion of today in a proper context. As we saw in the case of ZMAC, that what is the need for business agility? So let me first describe it to you as in how in the management circles do we define business agility. So business agility is an alternative approach to managing organizations. Like we saw in the case of ZMAC, in case your plan A fails, your software doesn't lives up to the expectations, you are ready with the plan B. That's the essence of business agility. It is about managing teams within teams, the agile teams that we call, the people who make up those teams. It emphasizes frequent delivery of value to your customers and stakeholders through use of iterative workflows, visualization techniques, and more rapid planning cycles, which we will be explaining in the coming slides. But let me first show you a small video just to explain you what do we mean in practical terms when we talk about business agility.
Carol Shelby.
Is it audible?
Maybe. Lee Iacocca, Ford Motor. Suppose Henry Ford II wanted to build the greatest race car the world's ever seen, to win the 24 hours of Le Mans. What's it take?
Well, it takes something money can't buy.
Money can buy speed.
What in about speed?
We heard he's difficult.
No, Ken's a puppy dog.
No. Whatever it is, Shell, no. Trust me. You're gonna build a car to beat Ferrari with a Ford.
Correct.
And how long did you tell them that you needed? 200, 300 years?
90 days.
First time Ford Motors has gone to war. We know how to do more than push paper. Go ahead, Carol. Go to war.
Thank you, sir.
Do you think you can beat Ferrari?
I can try.
We're lighter, we're faster. When that don't work, we're nastier.
We're gonna make history.
Ready?
I was born ready, Mr. Shelby. Hit it.
Carol Shelby.
So as we saw in this particular case, so this particular video is not actually about business agility, but then the real sentiment which is there behind agility, the real reason behind agility is very beautifully captured by this video. When everyone else in the market is expecting that you'll come up with a new product, maybe the Ford will come with a racing car that can beat Ferrari in 200 or 300 years, You are planning to do it in 90 days. When everyone else is thinking that it's going to require a lot of funds, it will require a lot of money, you are confident that it requires something more than the money. It is about that way of working that business agility talks about. When everyone else is focusing on just speed, you are talking about a product feature that is lighter, that is faster. When you vision that, when you are able to think about incremental product innovation that can beat your competitors, you're getting the agility right. Now, why do we need agility? So there have been several surveys. We have recently come out of a pandemic and we have seen a lot of the changes happening in the consumer preferences. So in terms of the various studies being done recently, what has been observed throughout the world, that post-pandemic, the people, the consumer is not going to stick with their old brands. They will be buying more of new brands. In fact, a study done by IBM shows that 59% of the people have said that they have started purchasing new brands in the pandemic. 78% people feel that they are not understood by the brands. Brands are not able to understand their real needs. And this is where agility comes into the play. When you know what product improvement you need to bring in, how you want to bring it in a cost-effective and a time-effective manner, how you do it well in time, that's the very concept of business agility. Now, what are the various enablers of business agility? Obviously, when we are talking about such shifts in the product, in the services that we are offering, we are focusing on product optimization, service optimization. How do we do it? So obviously, we need to change the organizational culture. We need to change the organizational structure. We need to change the thinking and the mindset of our employees. Of course, it also requires a lot of funding. It requires a support and dedication of your leadership and the top management. And lastly, and most importantly, you need to figure out new ways of working that can help you bring those incremental changes in your product or services that will satisfy your consumer. So let me tell you with the help of an example of how this agility framework is different from the traditional framework. So in the traditional approach, when we say that we are bringing in a new product or introducing something new in the market, what are we doing? We define the customer needs, then we move on to the design phase, then we develop, we test, we retest, and then finally we come up with a shippable or marketable product. Here, when we are talking about agility and we are using agility frameworks like Scrum, Kanban, or SAFe, we are not doing that traditional approach. We're not going, step by step. We are following all those steps simultaneously. So your marketing team is sitting with you, your product development team is sitting at one place, your supply chain team is also sitting at the same place. They are working together to bring those incremental changes in the product that they want to bring, and automatically you are bringing a new product or a new service modification every 1 or 2 weeks. That's the importance of that's the essence of business agility. Now we have several agility success stories that which are there in the market. I'll not go into the details of all of them, but I'll discuss a few of the interesting ones to show you how organizations are actually doing it. So Gillette, we all know, a very famous, shaving razor brand. So this is a particular story of how agility was introduced by Gillette in its R&D team. So initially, this particular case study is based on the interviews with the VP R&D team headed in Massachusetts. The VP of this R&D team, he says that initially we were doing fine. We were the market leaders and we used to come up with a new wet shave razor every 4 or 5 years. So we used to do some product changes and then we used to come up with the new shaving razor in the market. But then automatically our consumer preferences started changing. Now the customer was not demanding that wet shave razor that we were coming up with certain modifications every 4 or 5 years. So we had two things in our mind. One, either we do it in 3 years or 2 years, or we are out of the business. And second thing, because now my consumer preference is changing. This is Gen Z, this is millennial. These are the consumers who don't need probably the new wet shave razor. They are switching on to a dry shave razor, something which is orange in color, something which vibrates, something which is totally different from the traditional product. So now how do you do it? How you keep up with the pace of your changing consumer demand. That's where an agility came into the picture in this particular company's case. So they decided that they will invite feedbacks from different departments in their organization. And two things were realized. One, they need to be agile in case they want to lead the market. Second, they need an agile coach that can help them sail through this process. So automatically, with repeated time box iterations, using those agility frameworks, they were actually able to come up with a exfoliating dry shave razor, which had these qualities of being colorful and vibrating at the same time. So this was one success story that agility led to product innovation in case of Gillette. Akbank, the banking sector example, another example. So in this particular case, this is a leading Turkish bank. They were facing problems with their credit process, the credit card processing system, and their point of sale devices, which were there. So they introduced this agility concept, and it became so successful that later on they used it for managing their corporate accounts also. So the same framework, the agility framework, they started using it for other departments also. Cathay Pacific, they came up with a new internet booking engine, and this is 2015 I'm talking about, when it was relatively something new, when you are talking about internet booking engine for your customers, and you need to do it timely, otherwise other airlines will also do it and your sales will drop. So Cathay Pacific used it at that time and they were able to be successful. But at the same time, it is not about big businesses doing it. Small businesses and startups are also doing it, and they also have been very successful in it. Iris Trace, a European startup into the nursing and hospitality. So they used the Agile framework, came up with a new software that could help doctors and nurses to understand their patients' post-pandemic care. They were very successfully able to do it. Spotify came up with a new Spotify model of Agile during their startup days, and they were able to successfully do it. So we are full of these success stories. Business world is full of these agile success stories. 10 years back, if you would have asked me as a trainer, ma'am, please tell us something about agility, so I would have said that yes, this is an evolving concept. Some companies, maybe Google, Microsoft, or such big organizations are doing it. Today, if you'll ask me, sitting here in 2024, every single organization has to do it. It has become a necessity. Either you do it or you're simply out of the business. So that is the need for business agility. What are the business outcomes? So it's not a new concept. It is a well-established concept, and there have been several researchers to actually propose that what are the outcomes of it. So one Harvard study that has given up this roadmap or this chart of what business outcomes you can expect when you are being agile. So you can expect customer satisfaction because you're coming up with a product that meets their expectations. So the IBM study, which says that 78% consumers are not happy. They say that their brand doesn't understand them. This is where agility fits in. This is where agility hits. You understand your customer and you are able to satisfy your customer. You are able to innovate. You are not coming up with a wet shave razor, you're coming up with a dry shave razor. You are not coming up with a traditional approach of point of sales. You are coming up with a new credit card system or corporate internet banking system. You are increasing your productivity. You are increasing employee engagement, because when you are bringing different teams, different functions together, you are providing them more autonomy. So the benefits are multifaceted. It increases your customer satisfaction by 60%. It increases your employee engagement by 20 to 30%. That's the figure. That's the figures are telling us that how much important business agility is in terms of the business outcomes. But then if I go by the figures as to why, if this is so important and this is so relevant, why are the organizations not doing it? So this is the survey that has been done recently by this organization. And what are the results? It suggests that 94% of the companies in the software sector are actually doing it. In the non-IT industries also, the adoption rate has doubled, although it has not matched that of the software sector. And there are certain common impediments which are stopping departments from doing it. What are those? Inconsistencies in the processes and practices is one thing. So you plan for bringing in an agile approach to a new product or a service, but then there are inconsistencies in your process and practices that seriously hampers your adoption rate. Akbank example that I discussed with you. So in this particular case, Akbank was actually ready with a master plan to be agile, but somehow it was not working in the organization. They did a survey within the organization and it was found out that although they have an agile master plan in place, the compliance rate with that master plan is just 35% and they are not able to do it because of the inconsistencies in the processes and also because of that fixed mindset that their employees had. So you need to overcome that. Cultural clashes which are there. You're bringing in different teams together, you're bringing North and South together. Cultural clashes are going to happen. You need to overcome that barrier. And then general organizational resistance to change is there. People don't want to change easily. So these were certain impediments which were stopping organizations from being agile. But then organizations are actually trying to overcome these and do it. I'll discuss in the coming slides how you can do as an organization. So when we're talking about business agility, I discussed the concept how organization wide you can do it. Let me tell you how functional agility can also be brought in. So HR department. So as a traditional HR department, let's say your organization is facing high turnover rates. A traditional HR department will do some calculations, some analytics, and it will come up with a solution. And it might say, based on the analytics, that the employee's distance from his office to his home, the time taken in traveling from office to home, is a major reason why my employees are leaving the organization. So a traditional HR will suggest that maybe we should hire employees who live close to our workplace, right? Now, what an agile organization will do, agile department will do. An agile department will not stop at the statistics of distance related to employee turnover. They'll do more survey, more research. They will bring in their different teams together, and maybe they could find out several other factors leading to employee turnover. You're not just focusing on one aspect, you're focusing on different aspects, and maybe you are getting new insights. So you might find out that it is not just the distance traveled, the length or the time consumed in traveling from home to office, which is causing your employees to leave the organization. It is different across different levels. So probably low level management or the middle managers are leaving because of it. But then for top level managers, the distance traveled is not a constraint that is causing them to leave. So this is the new insight that you might get if you are an agile department, agile HR team. This is how agility works at the functional level. Another example, let's say in the marketing case. So there is this famous organization, the Container Store, a very famous American retail chain. They were doing their sales fine, and then pandemic hit. So what happened was, during the pandemic, their offline sales became very low, and they realized that they need to pull in online, customers online. So going by the traditional marketing approach, they would have done survey. They could have gone to the customer, known their requirements, come up and given this feedback to the product design team, and maybe they would have come up with a solution. But by the time you come up with a solution, pandemic is already over. When you are agile, when your marketing team is agile, you're not just focusing only on the campaigning or putting it in a right. You are thinking of innovative ways of pulling your offline customers online, and that's exactly what Container Store did. So their marketing team decided and they realized that it's to bring our consumers online. We also need to give them some something that they are doing home, sitting at home. So they introduced the DIY kits. They introduced several rebranding, and the kind of discounts were given so as to pull them online. And that's how you change your consumer behavior, just by being agile. This is how functional departments within organizations are doing agile. How teams are doing agility. So very important. Only organizational agility is not going to help. Team agility, it comes from the bottom line. The real bottom line is team agility. You have an agile master plan organization wide, fine, but you also need to understand that how your teams can be agile. What is team agility? So team agility is about an organization's ability to thrive in the digital age by entirely being dependent on their ability of its team to deliver those solutions. Now, how is your team going to deliver those solutions for you? If your marketing team is sitting at one floor, within that marketing team, several sub departments are sitting at different places. They might not communicate with each other face to face. How will they come up with a new solution? So you need to not only change the plan should have been in the place, but at the same time, it is also about breaking silos between departments. It is not only changing the mode of functioning, it is also about changing the sofa of your organization, the very functional, you can say the setup of your organization, so that your organization's employees, teams come closer, they discuss with each other, they work face to face, they have cafe conversations with each other, they have daily stand-ups, so that it becomes an icebreaker. Nobody is hesitant to explain their ideas, and this is how team agility has to be brought in. But then when we are talking about team, who's making up those team? Individuals. I think learning agility at the individual level is also equally important. If you want your team to be agile, your individual members also need to be agile. But what is a common impediment towards being agile? I think we all have been victims of fixed mindset. When we are working in an organization, we develop the tendency that I'll come at 9, I'll do my job with utmost dedication till 5, and then I'll leave. So this is something you are doing in your regular job. But then let's say you are working with an agile organization, or let's say for your personal growth also, you think that this is not enough or you are getting bored. How do you change your fixed mindset and come up with something that brings in more eggs in your basket? So we all have been victims of fixed mindset, and fixed mindset individual cannot survive in a agile organization. So we need to come out of this fixed mindset. We need to come out of this way of looking at things in terms of polarity: doable, non-doable, possible, impossible. Rather, we need to look at it from a growth mindset point of view. What this particular challenge has for me to offer? How can I be a better version of myself? So we have several learning, leadership agility inventories in place that can help us measure our learning agility. Then we have several exercises. I do a lot of exercises with individuals to help them come out of this fixed mindset and develop a growth mindset, which is equally important for embracing business agility and functional agility. But we'll not talk about that, so because of the time constraint. So till now we have seen what is business agility and why business agility. Now let's see, how do we do it? How business agility? So Professor Monica will be talking about it.
Thanks, Dr. Harshita. And I think that's the answer we all seek. How can I be agile? How can I break that 9 to 5 silo in my mind, right? So the first thing and the most important thing that we need to do is look at 3 things that are there on the slide. 1, get backlogs, teams, and working process. If any organization, goes and buys Scrum, they are not going to be agile. If you put your team on a training or a workshop for Scrum to be agile, that is not going to bring in agility in the organization. Agility comes from an open mindset and also looking at these very important aspects. Okay, first is getting backlogs. So here you need to understand what are the user requirements. What are the user requirements and how well you have explained these user requirements. And my dear friends, for the organizations who have been successful, you call Amazon, you call Spotify, what they have done is when they talk about these backlogs, the backlogs that they have are 4 to 5 pages of clear specification, where when the team sits on working on these user requirements, they know inside out what needs to be done, what resource need to be brought in, how you are going to end, and everything is damn clear. Because unless you have that kind of clarity, you cannot provide the customer what they are looking for. Okay, so the first thing and the most important thing for you to be agile is look at what your user requires. Now, your user can be the business organization who is your client. It can also be your boss who is looking for you to work on certain processes. It can be someone who you are working in collaboration with. Because when we are talking with in terms of agility, it can be individual agility, it can be team agility, it can be organizational agility. So first thing that you need to bring in your working processes is get those backlogs straight up and right, very precise. Second thing, that is another, you can say, promise to succeed is teams. It's very important, the team, people who work in tandem day in and day out on these processes, on these projects, they understand each other. They are working their scrum out. They are working day and night on these. They are not working 9 to 5. They are working inside these processes. So it's very important when this kind of collaboration is happening. The organization can promise or deliver to the clients once they know what needs to be done, that is what are the backlogs, and the velocity of how well they are going to provide the solution to the client for which they are seeking. So here, that kind of stability, if you have it there in your team, that stability will bring in your velocity, and henceforth you will be able to provide that product to the client or the service to the client. Hence, it's very important that your team is stable and the velocity that comes from your team is coming from that kind of collaboration. Hence, team must be able to get everything, everyone they require for this client requirement to be fulfilled. And third thing that is very, very, very important is what needs to be done, what done looks like. What is the outcome? What is the final, product that you're looking for, or the service that you're looking for? How this done will be shaped by the work that you're going to do. Okay, so you'll do this reverse kind of thinking progress here, and henceforth the working process becomes more significant. So here you're going to look at, are we going to have any bugs in my final output? No, we are not. Are we going to have any defects? No, we are not. Okay, so we are going to look at our product which is full and final and is in working stages. So if you have these three things aligned, then you have your goal set up. And once your goal is set up, right, that means you are able to look and see through your organizational processes. Now, what happens is usually when we are looking at the done part, okay, we tend to bring in work efficiencies. And one most effective way to bring in work efficiency in agility, they are correlated. So higher is agility, higher would be efficiency, and vice versa. But then how do we bring it that way is in our work? So the very solution to this problem is eliminate any kind of dependencies, or you can say couplings. So usually what happens is any organization has team and many kind of teams working together, and one team is dependent on the other. Same ways you have activities, one activity dependent on the other, and so and so forth. And because of that, there is a lot of complexity amongst the team, amongst the structure in the organization. And because of that, you have a hierarchy. And because of that hierarchy, the work progress is slowed down. And you're not able to provide to your client in that stipulated time. So what is the solution here? The solution is, first thing first, you have to eliminate those couplings. You have to eliminate those dependencies. But what are those dependencies? So if you look at this image here, this is a very simple story map of expense reimbursement system. Okay, so here, usually what happens is in any organization, we start with managing the expenses. So here the team, who have been working on these marketing campaigns or, going out to build up for the product development, they bring in whatever the expense they had incurred. Okay, so all these bills, they are then moved forward and they are submitted for reimbursement. That is step number 2. So here all the submissions, all the expenses are done. Then you have step 3, where these submissions, these bills, which are, the billable expenses or non-billable expenses, either they are approved or they are rejected. And finally, if they're approved, you'll get the reimbursement. If they are not approved, you will not. But if you see here very closely, you cannot approve or reject expenses unless you have submitted them. Yes. So one activity is dependent on the other activity to be implemented. Same way, if team 1 is handling the billable expenses submission, right, or receipt, then Team 2 is looking at approvals and reimbursement. So if you think very closely, Team 1 has focused on features which are related to entering and submitting, right? And henceforth, there is a kind of dependency which Team 2 has on Team 1 so that their case is completed. So unless the entire submission, approval, and reimbursement is happening, this particular process will not be completed. That means the user outcome will not be achieved. Neither team in here owns the entire end-to-end value flow. And that is what we want to eliminate. We do not want to have these kind of dependency. Next slide, please. Now, here, if we want to eliminate the dependency, there is one very successful manner where what we do is, instead of having more teams working on parts of the process, when teams care less about who is owning the particular features, and they are more about delivering the end-to-end use case, right? So you are able to gain more control, and you can have more, you can say, efficiency in your work, because you are eliminating the dependency. You are increasing the team capability to easily enhance and support the large portion of the product feature. So like the Zamac case, in here, because they followed the traditional approach, one step was dependent on the other. They could not show Zamac that how the particular app is going to work. If here team 1 is managing from end to end, from submission of the billable expense to their reimbursement, it is highly likely that the time that you're going to take on it and the efficiency that you're going to bring in this process will be very high. So this is how you eliminate those dependency, and you can help the customer get the response in much speed time. Next slide, please. The second thing that we ought to look out here is, since the steps are dependent on each other, so what we are looking at is, we are looking at the pace, or you can say the velocity is also not done. That we call as anti-pattern in agility. And in order to eliminate this anti-pattern or bring in corrective pattern, what we do is we put in the teams which are T-shaped team. And when we say T-shaped team, that means team who is having broad skills, but out of these broad skills, there are skills which are deepened. That means they have very deep knowledge on the work that they are working on, right? So in here, what we do is we bring cross-functional team who sit with each other, and everyone is expert in the work that they're doing. Henceforth, you do not require to be dependent on any other team outside your own cross-functional team, and then you are able to get the results. Next, please. Now, this is one example of an insurance company where if this hierarchy is broken down and the dependencies are broken down, you can see the time to the market is eliminated. So if you look at the traditional organization, right, there is hierarchy that starts from 1 and goes to 6 to 7. Now, if your organization is agile, the second way that you can do is you minimize this hierarchy, and from CEO to motor drive, you just go with squads. And what is these squads? These are nothing but your cross-functional team, which are dependent or which are self-sufficient, because they have all kind of expertise which are required. So, my dear friends, if you have these kind of capabilities, it is highly likely that you are able to achieve, you are going to achieve the outcome. And the formula for doing that is, next slide, please. Have a 90-day rolling plan. Why not 90 day? Why not 91 day or 89 day? Because usually when we talk about business agility, there is a business architecture, there is IT architecture, there is a system in place in the current organization, in your work processes that you are dealing with. So in order to bring in that effective change, it usually requires 3 to 6 months. So it takes up to 90 days for this plan to work well and fine. And how do you start? From day one is, the first things first, you need to identify whatever work I'm doing, whether I'm working on marketing campaigns or I'm building a website or any other work for that matter. The first thing that you have to find out to be agile is, what are the impediments? What are those things that are stopping me to achieve what I ought to achieve? Next slide, please. Now, if I want to find out what is it that is blocking my progress, it can be anything. It can be people with whom I'm working with. It can be, you know, the technology that I require is not there or is slow. It can be operational issues. Maybe the process has a lot of work in progress. So more is the work in progress, less will be the cycle time, less will be the lead time that we do not want, right? Maybe there is lack of support also, which may hamper your progress. So can we have the previous slide, please? So whatever it is, you have to first identify what are those impediments and be mindful of them. Okay, so once you have your work process so that your impediments are not affecting your work process. So in here, you have to set your goals straight. For that, there are matrices that you need to see. Now, what these matrices are business matrices, because as an organization you ought to achieve something, and then transformative matrices, that is how you being agile are going to achieve. Can we have the next slide, please? So in here, if you see, your business metrics can be the organization wants to have high sales revenue. They want to have net profit margin that, is higher than that they have previously. Same way, they are mindful about the cross margin, monthly recurrent revenue, and what people are talking about us. Is it positive? What is my net promoter score? So when you're working on your agile objectives, you need to see, when you say you're being agile, it's not only processes, it's about your employees, it's about your customers. So it is a complete collaborative environment, right? So you need to see the way we are working, right? Is my customer satisfaction score going high or not? That has to be your agile objective. Same way, what is my delivery speed? Have I enhanced my cycle time? Have I eliminated those blockages? Have I, taken out those work-in processes? Because that is something which is waste. I need to eliminate waste. And, as we have seen in most of the successful organizations, only 10% of this wastage is that they are able to eliminate. So if you are successful in getting that 10%, if 10 to 15% is achieved, I would say you are a very successful organization or an individual, because it's something huge, and it has stupendous impact on your organizational outcome. Same way, you also have to see you had some benchmarks and you actually executive few things. So what was the gap between your planned thing and the done thing, and what are the outcome in terms of delays? If these are few things as an organization we are able to bring in, so matrices must be aligned with my agile matrix must be in line with my business metric. And if you have done that, that means you have set a clear goal for yourself. Can we have previous slide, please? Yeah. So you identify the impediments, and that you are going to do from day one, that is today. Okay. And if you do that, I promise you that you're going to see a lot of, positive effect in the way you are actually completing your process. So identify those impediments, make those matrices, and then assess them. Assess what key tasks and activities you are doing, okay? Because those are the ones which are going to help you find a plan B that Dr. Hashita talked about, that we are not going to restrict ourselves in the way things are being done. You have to find new creative ways of finding better ways to get the work done, okay? So what are the outcomes and how through these XYZ ways I can achieve them? And who do I require? What do I require? Identify all those of resources. And every day, every week, every month, you must produce status reports to see how far have you reached from starting point and how far you are still left from your finishing point. So if you have all those in line, I'm pretty sure on the 90th day, you are going to find yourself much agile than you are today. And I give you example of this company. Can we have next slide, please? Yeah. So this is one company. What they did was they wanted to enhance their customer response time, right? So in order to do that, they found a way out that instead of having a company fixed architecture or fixed system, why not have our entire architecture built upon our customer journey? since this is an insurance organization, so they knew that the customer starts in with finding out what kind of policies do I require for myself, whether I need house insurance or I need life insurance or whatever is it. So it starts from engagement, that is I consider, goes to pricing, I buy any given policy, then it's about getting the claims done, I have a claim, and then getting those claims in line. So through this journey, the processes that you see towards the bottom of this image, they have aligned all the processes in terms of creating the product and creating the operations. And if you do that, then everything falls in line and you are able to bring that agility in your organization. So my dear friends, this is one way how you can individually as well as an organization can work towards being more agile. So thank you so much for being such great participants, and we are open for any questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Monica. Thank you, Dr. Harshita. It was actually informative webinar full of a lot of information, short to the point. Ladies and gentlemen, we would love to hear from you guys. If you could drop the question in the section of Q&A. So can Dr. Monica and Dr. Harshita answer your question and clear your concern. Any question?
I guess then we can ask the questions to all the respondents, all the participants here. Where do you think you are in terms of agility? Identify where you are, because that can be one very beautiful starting point. So if you go out from this session thinking you need to improve, probably, there can be a starting point.
Also, if there is someone who would love to drop the question asking using the mic, just use the emoji of raise hand and we will open for you the mic.
I think we have one question. Yeah. So can I answer? Do I need to write or I can even?
No. Answer verbally.
Okay. So when you are saying how business agility is different from business innovation, I'll say they go hand in hand. It is not that, but the only difference here is that when you're talking about business innovation, you are focusing on, a final product which is coming to the market based on your customer requirement. In agility, because you are sitting here in 2024, wherein your customer demands is changing very frequently. So it is quite possible that you start with one innovative idea in your mind, and by the time you reach the market, it's been 1 year or 2 year, and it's not, some features of that product are no longer required by your customers. Business agility is about starting with that innovative idea, but at simultaneous times, let's say 3 months, you do again a iteration to understand, is it the same thing that the customer is wanting, or do some features need to be changed? So it's a continuous process of doing that. They go hand in hand. They are quite similar to each other, but then the important point here is product optimization based on your customer feedback.
Absolutely. I would like to add in here, very rightly put, Harshita. So innovation becomes an integral part of agility. So what happens is when you start working on agility, you divide the entire work process into sprints, and those sprints are time-based sprints activity. So within that time, usually it is 2 weeks to 4 weeks. Okay. So your team has to work on that given deadline. All your lead time and cycle time has to, give us what is the frequency of activities that you have performed and how many are completed and how many are not. Okay. So there is a very time-tied kind of sprints that we follow in agility. And then we are looking at, with this time aligned, one is time aligned and second is resource aligned, okay, which defines our scope and ensure that we are not going out of the scope. Henceforth, innovation becomes a part of agility, and agility using that innovation tends to bring out in line with customer requirements, the ultimate product or service.
Perfect. We have another question, I do believe, from Mr. Nihal. How is the business agility is correlate to value stream mapping?
So, okay. Again, I would say that very correlated concepts. When we are talking about value stream mapping, you are thinking more in terms of eliminating bottlenecks or reducing the waste which is happening in the cycle. Your focus is on process optimization. But what if you can do process optimization along with product optimization? This is the beauty of business agility. You are able to do both. So I totally agree with you. They are correlated, they go hand in hand. But then the basic fundamental, when you are focusing on, we're talking about value stream mapping, you are only focusing on the process. Here you are focusing both on the process as well as the product. The end product is also important because your customer is waiting for something which is perfectly meeting his demands, but at the same time your backend team, your inventory management should also be well aligned, that you don't expect the waste. A new product is coming, but not at a very expensive cost, or you can say at a rate which is not which every customer cannot buy. So that should not be there. This is how the two concepts should be related.
Absolutely. In fact, that is why we have moved from lean to agility. Because when we were talking lean, we were talking about non-value and value-added stream activities. But here, going ahead from operational efficiency, we are also going to time efficiency. We are also going to customer requirement efficiency, right? So it goes step ahead, but yes, it is an integral part of our business agility.
What about the tools? How we could be able to indicator what kind of tools we can use it to measure the results of the performance or the outcome from applying or implementing the agility plan on the organization? How we can measure this?
So, in terms of team agility, let's say in the organization, like I discussed the UGBEC example. So, what was happening was they had a master agile plan in place, but then the compliance rate was low. So, why that compliance rate was low? They did a department by department survey, and they realized that some teams are such that they are not welcoming that change. They were able to do with the use of the survey, and it was realized that they need a kind of a training to come out of that fixed mindset. So one tool is doing organization surveys that you can do to understand how agile your employees are, how they can change themselves. Leadership agility is again very important. If your leaders are not agile, your teams, your organization cannot be agile. So we have tools to measure leadership agility, and then we can identify the key improvement areas which are there. So as a leader, I am doing my work very fine. I am perfect as a leader. My relationship with my subordinates is good. My leader member exchange is good. But then, am I agile or not? I need to check that, and I need to understand the key improvement areas wherein I can work. So this is how we can do it. We have a lot of tools. We have a lot of inventories, a lot of questionnaires to understand that. Organization-wide surveys also in the matrix we can use to understand how agile our organization is.
Okay, perfect. As a leader, if you are facing a resistance from the team that has been assigned to you, how you can sort it out from your side as a leader?
So
because I
as
think
a leader,
it's considered as a challenge for you as a leader.
Yes. So one thing again, like I discussed in the case of the team agility is about changing your people's mindset. So they need to come out of this fixed mindset. That will happen when, as a coach, you are regularly monitoring them, you are taking their feedback, what they feel, why are they afraid of taking that step, why they are not interested in becoming a better version of themselves every single day. So what is stopping them? You can do a counseling as a leader. You can try to understand that. Second thing you can do is sometimes, it's not about your team members. It is about the organizational architecture or the structure which is there. So like I said in the first case also, it is about changing your teams. It is about changing your people, but at the same time, it is also about changing the sofa of your organization, as in how they are sitting. If they are sitting at different locations and they're not able to communicate properly, you need to look at those communication channels, what is blocking them, what is hampering the communication between them, and bring them together. That's what a leader can do to bring agility in their team.
Perfect. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
And
Yeah.
in addition to that, when we talk about business agility, what happens is when we make these cross-functional teams, not only do we make the teams, we also give them authority to change. Now, if they can bring the change, if they are not only responsible, but they have decision-making capability, so we empower these teams. This empowerment leads to more onus and more reflective behavior, more positive behavior. And the last thing that is very important is communication. We need to make sure that our team understand the expected outcome that we want from them, and also what they feel about the entire process. So if the communication is steered nicely, and leadership, as we have discussed, plays a very important role here. So the team that comes in agility is actually more than prepared to be working and being their own bosses when they're working on their processes. So that leads to a very positive kind of mindset.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Monica. I do believe we have more questions that came out here. We have a question from Mr. Maher. He's asking about how do you measure agility results in terms of goals achievement?
So, like I discussed earlier, that let's say if you're talking about HR department, as a HR department, how agile you are, you want to understand that. So I'll give you one example of one education platform wherein they were facing a problem that people were enrolling in a particular course, but then because there was a time since the people enroll and then the course start, there was a time lag in between. So what was happening was people were enrolling for the program, but they were not coming to the classroom. So that this particular educational platform, it decided that maybe this course is no more required. We'll just scrap this idea of having this course. Let's bring in a new certificate course. Now you understand how much cost implication of this is there. You're scrapping one educational program and you're bringing up a new certification program. A lot of investment goes in. So the Agile HR team in this particular organization, they did a lot of survey to understand what is wrong, and the problem that they could map out was very simple, that there is a lot of lag time between the once the student enroll and then the student joins in. So it's just a communication gap which is there. Maybe when you will connect with them regularly, when you will call them regularly, you'll be able to you can say engage them till the time the course starts. So simple problem, simple solution, but then that solution needs to come. So that comes when your teams are agile, they connect with each other, they communicate, and they try to understand and figure out innovative solutions to the problems.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Harshita. Thank you, Dr. Monica. We have a question from Mr. Hassan. He's asking if there will be a recording for this session. Yes, we do. I just dropped right now a link of the live stream YouTube channels of Dubai Quality Group. You can copy this link. This has been recording the whole session. And also you will receive an email from our side, including the recording for this webinar. Thank you so much, Dr. Monica, for your time and engaging with us today. Thank you, Dr. Harshita. Really, we do appreciate, and I think we're gonna repeat this webinar again because we are receiving a lot of demanding about this topic. Next time we will try to do it different time to give the opportunity for a lot of people to attend and engage with us. Thank you so much for today, and wish you all the best and happy weekend as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was pleasure being here, and would love to come back wherever required. Thank you, and you too have a very nice weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.